get your lick back. If a nigga owe you something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop, let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back, get your lick back. If a nigga owe you something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop, let this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back.
I feel like I'm JX.
J-Way.
I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless.
I'm gone.
Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck.
Give me that.
To the trends. See a lead, be the band.
Fellas, do you want to put a bow on this Tigers talk, or do you want to move on to, I guess, Detroit Pistons?
Yeah, we can wrap it up. So yeah, as far as so far, nothing that just jumps out at me that I'm just so terribly disappointed about. I think that we played hard and contended with a team that kind of had everything has been kind of set up for them to be successful early on. I mean, they started in Japan. They got all the Japanese players over there. So that was a nice little homecoming for them. And then now they come home, ring ceremony, Ice Cube, Kirk Gibson. You know, it's been real beautiful and colorful. And the Tigers have remained competitive. You know, they've shown me some things, even from some of the not unfamiliar, but you know, people that wouldn't necessarily thought to be impactful early on, but you know, Manuel Margot and Ryan Kryler, they've contributed pretty well. So what I just want to see is for them to start getting some hits with runners on, and you know, just piecing together a couple of consecutive hits. I mean, the home runs are nice and all that, but we don't hit consistently in a hitter's park. So we're not going to always be able to just hit the ball out of the park to manufacture home runs. Oh, McKinstry too. McKinstry has played pretty well. Some of our old, you know, guys that used to play for the Dodgers, you know, Sweeney's in the, you know, was in the Dodgers system as well, and then Zach McKinstry. So, yeah, we've got some pretty good efforts from some guys that we haven't necessarily thought that we would lean on, but you know, I'm excited to see you know, more at bats from Kerry Carpenter and some of our other guys that we will be depending on. So, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give them about 30 games in, just kind of see where they're at, not just health-wise, but you know, a nice scope of variable opponents, probably at different levels. You know, early West Coast trip, short trip, so only one of two for the year. They get one out of the way early. So the last show we said, you know, I kind of put it out there, right around 500. Be right around their 500 after the first 30 days, dealing with the injuries that they've got. I think it still puts them in position because of the fact that the division is still really weak overall. So I think that's a benefit for Detroit, that they can kind of weather the storm and, like you said, be competitive. If they're flat, if they're 2 out of 3 games getting absolutely annihilated, it's a totally different feeling. But first 2 games, they've been right there at the doorstep. So let's see if they do it the next 28 games and kind of see what they got from there.
Definitely. Last night, the Pistons, in my opinion, did the unthinkable on the basketball court. We lost the last 12 to Cleveland Cavaliers. So at tip-off, you see Cade in street clothes, you see Tobias Harris in street clothes, and I'm thinking, well, you won 2 games in a row. You know, that's just what it is. This is the best team in basketball. You're going against, even though you're at home, you're without your Batman and your Robin wannabe.
Yeah.
So it's like I watched the game with controlled enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Fellas, they won. With no Cade, no Tobias, no Ivy. Mitchell goes crazy. Now, if you tell me the next day, Mitchell had 38, Garland had 20-something, there was no Cade, there was no Tobias, I'm thinking Cleveland won by 40. But I think don't want to, dispel what they've done all year, but I think that's a recipe for beating Cleveland. You keep those scores down, everyone else, because Mitchell can get his and Garland's going to get his. But if you can keep everybody else under wraps, they're not crazy like that. It just so happens that Mobley only had 9 points last night. Mm-hmm. And did you see the move that Stewart put on Mobley?
Ooh. Man, that was pretty.
Foster, what did you see last night?
Man, well, the Pistons are now 3-0 since they lost to Dallas last Friday in a game that was kind of a head scratcher. But this team has been looking for other players to step up outside of Cade Cunningham, and I think that for one, they're a resilient team. They're a team that you rarely see us have more than one really bad game in a row. We tend to bounce back pretty well, after having a bad loss, and we've seen a lot of guys step up. Sasser has had, I think, 2 of the 3 of the last games, he's had like over 20 points. Ron Holland had over 20 points against New Orleans.
26.
26, yes,
Yeah.
against the Pelicans. But last night it was a pretty balanced effort. For one, Tim Hardaway scored like 35, which is just, the proud dad moment. Tim Hardaway Sr. in the building, of course. But yeah, he played out of his mind. He was all over the place.
Early, you started early.
Oh yeah. Out the gate, I missed like the first half of the first quarter, and I think he already had like 14 by that point.
Yeah, he was out the gate with it.
But yeah, he was all over the place. He was hitting threes. He was getting dunks in transition. But overall, 7 of the 9 players played yesterday. 7 of them had double digits. So it was a pretty balanced effort altogether. But Dennis Schroeder had a good game. He started. Malik Beasley got back to the form that we kind of known him to have. Asar had a really good game. Pretty much everybody played well except for like Fontecchio didn't have a good
game. What do we expect out of Fontecchio, bro?
Hey,
all or nothing, pretty much.
Once a month he'll show you something. And then Sasser didn't really have a good game, but Schroeder nearly had a triple double in the game. So what it's shown is how deep the team is. We are really, when we're able to get out in transition, that's where we're at our best. I've said it all year. I think we had 25 fast break points to their 6. But yeah, we just done a really good job of creating turnovers, turning it into buckets, and just playing balanced. I mean, like you said, three of our top scorers, when you account for Jaden Ivey as well, didn't play in that game, and for us to still have 7 guys in double figures, I mean, that's double digits. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, this is a team that continues to, the chemistry is there. They continue to rally around each other in spite of the fact that we have had some injuries. We have had some guys struggle, but we just play really well on Fridays. For one, I think I was looking it up. I think we're 8-4 on Fridays, and this is if you can beat the Cavaliers, who were pretty much 100%. They did. Max Strus didn't play, but Garland, Allen, Mobley, Mitchell, they all played in the game.
Yeah, most of them played.
DeAndre Hunter played yesterday as well. So we should be able to beat it. We're not going to win out, of course, but if you can beat the second best team in the NBA, that's only going to give us momentum. I think it's similar to the Sixers game. Granted, the Sixers completely bottomed out and aren't going to, obviously aren't going to contend for the playoffs. But that was another Friday night game where the lights were bright, everybody was watching. It was in Detroit, and we defied the odds and beat them in that game as well. So,
Coach, what did you see? I don't know if Coach is a Pistons fan.
The NBA is a tough product for myself personally,
Okay.
but I will say this: this is a team
Yeah.
that they have, which identity-wise and probably due to some inconsistencies in player acquisition and personalities, had been a little discombobulated between, coaching staff, front office, and turning it, unintentionally into a environment of, well, we're not going anywhere. I got to get mine and move on and get out of here kind of deal. But, what a turnaround. Absolutely. And I know they've been catching some national headlines the last couple weeks, deservedly so, with the remarkable improvement. The same aspect as the Tigers last year, gritty defense. Although I struggle to wrap my head around that, considering what we consider defense from 20 years ago was on a completely different level altogether. Back in the days against the Ron Artest-led Pacers, the games where first team to 75 or 80 even wins.
Yeah.
In that aspect. So obviously it's a new era. It's a new age of basketball now. So I mean, you said it with my Eagles. Offenses sell tickets, but defense wins championships. So they've got a good foundation going forward. Bickerstaff is absolutely the right voice to have in that locker room and be a voice for them to the media and beyond. But let me kind of ask you guys this: gun to your head right now, with this game last night, down multiple big guys, scores against the number one team in the East, looking up against the other two teams that are above them, including Cleveland. Gun to your head in a 7-game series. Not can they, will they take any of those teams down in a 7-game series?
So you mean Boston or Cleveland?
Boston, what are they, number 4, right? Detroit, or are they third now?
So it goes Cleveland, Boston.
I thought they were fourth in the series
Knicks.
just the other night.
Cleveland, Boston,
course.
Knicks, Indiana, Pistons,
Yeah, so we're fifth.
Milwaukee.
We're fifth right
Fifth.
now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll take the other 4 then. Gun to your head in the playoff series. Because it's one thing to make the improvement, and then with the improvement, though, depending on the first round game, I would expect them to take that series almost regardless of who they're playing, for the most part. Now you go to the second round, we'll call it the semifinals. Now you're going to see potentially, the best of the rest, if not, obviously, the final. Do they have what it takes right now to take a 7-game series and either use that to go to the conference final, or win the conference final to go to the championship? It's a big leap.
Let's walk this down. Let's make sure we take this with a grain of reality.
Yeah.
Okay. I think. Let me premise this by saying, Pistons won game 42 last night, and I think the first time in a long time, if not NBA history, where a team has won 3 times the amount.
First time, wasn't it? I think they said yesterday it was the first time.
First time where a team has won triple the amount of games that they won the year previous, with that being 14 games. Now, if you'd have said this last year, that the Pistons would win the conference or be in the top 4, because me and Foster was hoping they win 28 games. They're doubled out.
Though, which is a lot to ask in
Which
itself.
is a lot to ask. So I'm thinking, and just being real and being honest, I think right now the Pistons have overexceeded my expectations and a lot of the expectations of the real true Pistons fan. Like, we knew that this team was better than 14 and 68. We did not think we were 42 game good. And anybody says that, they're probably lying. So to think that we're going to win the conference, it's a bit of a reach as far as expectations. I'm just hoping that first series that we give whoever we play hell. That's my expectation.
Yeah, I think that we're kind of at least a year off, just because a team like Boston has experience. They've been contending for the final, to be in the finals for years and years and years. So that would be a tough task. As far as Cleveland, their team, they're another team that for the last couple of years have been contending for it. They ultimately ended up getting rid of JB Biggerstaff, feeling like he wasn't going to be able to take it to the next level. So it would certainly make for a nice, a nice story for him to go up against his old team and knock them off. But I think between the two, I think Boston is the scarier team. I think Cleveland. The one thing advantage we will have is that JB knows those guys. That's essentially his same team outside of a couple fringe players. So although they have more of the experience, that was a JB led team that had that experience. So, but yeah, I think Boston's still the team. I mean, they won the championship last year, so they're 100% the team to beat. But we can't look past. We can't look past Indiana. Indiana's a team that we haven't beat yet this year. I think that would be another fun series. It would be a physical one. We've definitely had our fair share of storybook endings and a lot of things going on against Indiana, but I think they just dropped 150 on somebody. So it kind of scares me in the sense that, do we have the firepower? I mean, we have a deep roster and we have, we can go, 12 deep, but we also know that when it gets to the playoffs, those rotations shorten up. You're going to see a lot more minutes from your starters, and I think that our depth is what plays to our advantage more so than our our shorter rotation of 5 to 7 guys. So I don't know. Like I said, going back to the fact that we were able to beat the Cavs with a healthy Cavs team without 2 of our top players, it bodes well for us. But we'll just have to see. I don't think that we go into either one of those series and just get completely blown out. I think that we legitimately have one of the top 10 players in the league, so that's gonna play well for us. But we still need other players to play well alongside him to really have a legitimate opportunity in making a run to the playoffs.
You know what's crazy though, Foster? I know one plays 8 at the beginning. I'm not including the play-in because that's retarded. 1 plays 8,
right?
2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, or 4 plays 5, right? To be honest, I was more comfortable at 6, playing the Knicks in a series, right?
Yeah.
So the way it is now, if the playoffs started today, we'll be at 5 playing the Pacers. Mm-hmm. And I am not comfortable about that series right now, just because of the way they played us in the past, and they seem to turn it up a notch versus us. It would be nice. I think it's 8 games left, 8 or 9 games left. I think it would be nice. I think the best case scenario for us in the first round, the best case is to somehow make it to that 3rd spot, and the Knicks play at the 6th spot.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
That would be the best case scenario. But I think the way it's going to play out is Indiana and Detroit is going to be at the 4 or 5. It might flip flop for where Detroit is at the 4 and Indiana's at 5.
Yeah.
And we have home court advantage. But playing them, it doesn't really matter because they seem to, their eyes light up when they play us. And that's going to be one of those rivalries that's going to be going on from here. Because JB, he's made a statement about them. Keep that same energy every time we play, the last time they played. So that's going to be a tough series. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet on the Pistons versus Indiana, but you still a game that you ain't supposed to win. You go down to Indiana and you still a game. There's a chance. So as far as that's my expectation. Whoever they play the first series, because I don't think we win versus Boston or Cleveland in a 7-game series.
I'll say this though, that this turnaround has not been unlike the Tiger spot. This is not a weak division, and it has not been for at least a few years. Minus the Bulls kind of up and down a little bit, and obviously Detroit side. You've run heavy with the Pacers, the Bucks, and now the Cavs in the last couple of years. They've not just taken their lumps in the league. I think the exposure to good, successful teams in the division has probably been a contribution to the mindset and putting in the work, knowing like, okay, this is what we need to do to get better. This is not a cakewalk division for us that we can just step in 1 year and claim as ours. So I think this will help them in the long run, especially with the teams outside of the division that are, top 6, 7, 8 going forward. So I think that's something to take into consideration too.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually no weak teams in the division currently. The Bulls are on fire right now. They're actually 7 games under 500, but they're also have won. What is this? In the last 10, they're 8-2. They've won 4 in a row, and they'll probably. It looks. I don't know. The 2 teams ahead of them, Atlanta and Orlando, have both lost their last couple games. So I don't know. Yeah, there's really no weak links as far as the Central Division is concerned. It's been kind of a bloodbath the whole way through. The one nice thing is that the Pistons have kind of had their way with Chicago, which is nice. But yeah, as far as the top 6, there's still some movement that can be made. Obviously, well, the top two, Cleveland and Boston, are probably going to hold, at where they're at. But New York, the Pacers are only 3 games behind New York right now, and their best player is out right now. So there's an outside shot that they could move, that they could possibly move up, and then the Pistons are only a game and a half behind Indiana. So I think the Bucks are likely gonna sit put at where they're at. They've lost 3 in a row, and they're without Dame. So, but yes, there's still some games to be played that are meaningful with only 10 games left, 42 and 32. So what's that?
10 games.
Yeah, so
Still.
yeah. So.
So aside from who they have internally already improving, where in your guys' mind are they one position short or in need of to really get them to that next level?
Now this is going to be a debate between me and Foster.
Because obviously they've got a very collective, colorful group of guys right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we see the names like Beasley and Hardaway, and we have flashbacks going back to some of the, he mentioned, Hardaway senior days, Michigan, some names that we're familiar with, in college and pro as well. But if they are short in terms of someone that's not on the roster right now, what position would they benefit from bringing in someone via free agency if it's not the draft? Because obviously, look at the draft guy, probably not going to be as impactful as a major free agent signing to get you over the hump.
You want a specific person or position?
Oh, if you think it's a player over a group or position they have right now that they're fairly decent in, or it could be a position that you think they are a little substandard in collectively as a team, that could really make that jump or close that gap.
Okay. I have 2. One is a player, the other being a position. That position is the 4. Right? I think you get a legitimate 4. A legitimate 4 that can score on, more than just one level of scoring. And that could help defensively, that the Pistons can be a much better team. Also, there's a guard out there that I want in a Pistons uniform, and most people will not agree with who I'm going to say. Foster knows. But if we had someone like Marcus Smart, if we brought him in, because you don't need the backcourt. I think the backcourt it is what it is, right? I went back and forth with this. Cade is your point guard. He's going.
Facts.
Regardless of what I think, this is what's going to happen. Cade is going to be your one. Your two is either going to be Ivy or Thompson, right? Or Hardaway if he stays. But I think if you bring someone like Marcus Smart to come off the bench, I think his leadership, his defense, the kind of person you can just, throw in there when your guard needs a break. He's that utility guard that you need, and he's going to bring that toughness and defense, which J.B. Bickerstaff embodies. He's a defensive-minded coach, and we know, me and Foster both know from watching this team, pace is everything. When they create turnovers and they're running, this team is a very legitimate team when they can get out on the break and run. But I'll let Foster give his input on.
Yeah, I think it's not so much of one particular position per se, as much as it's just the role that they play. I think they need another, bona fide guy that's going to give you. On any given night, we have a couple guys that have the potential to score 20 points alongside a Cade, who's an automatic for sure 20, 25 points per game. But so every once in a while, Hardaway will have a good game, or Asar might have a solid game, Tobias, but you don't have a bona fide for a certain guy that can score 20, that can give you 20 points a game. Science will deliver for certain. Boston, Jaylen Brown and Tatum, they're both gonna score, and then Porzingis might give you 20 points too. So on the Pistons, we don't have that surefire guy. And I think we do a good job by committee of having guys, one day it might be Duren that steps up, or it might be Beasley that steps up. But I think the Pistons need that second guy that can go and get a bucket. I think ideally, I don't know if that particular person exists, but ideally I think he would be at the 4. I was gonna say the 2, but June makes a good point that we still have Ivy, so he's going to likely slot right back into that combo guard, second guard position. No knock to Tobias. He's been everything for us. He's had games where he had 5 steals and other games where he had 4 blocks. I mean, he's not a defensive juggernaut, but he knows how to play the game. I mean, sometimes I forget that. He plays the 4. He defends the 4 so well, but he's only 6'6" or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Or maybe 6'8". But
plays bigger than his actual
he
size.
definitely plays bigger, and he's just smarter. I think that it's a lot of that is just psychologically. He knows how to play the game, because physically he shouldn't be blocking all those shots.
I've seen some of those box signs too, where he struggles maybe shooting, but like you said, 3-4 assists, a couple blocks, some good hustle plays, keeping balls alive on the rebound.
And he would be great as a 6-man off the bench. If him and Beasley if we had a legitimate star at the 4, and Beasley and Tobias Harris were coming off the bench, we would be nasty as far as just instant offense. You mix that with some younger athletic guys, and you got a real recipe for disaster for the rest of the league. Because Tobias Harris has been a starter his entire career, and he was never extremely athletic, so he's never had to lean on his athleticism. But I would venture to say that he's probably lost a step, somewhere along the line.
Father Time stays undefeated.
Yeah, but and so in a situation where we had a bona fide starter at the 4, Tobias would still be able to start. Would still be able to start in the pinch if need be, but I think that he would, in his later years, he would flourish in a 6-man role. So I think just somebody that can go out and be a bona fide second option for Cade, and that could bring you 20 points a game. So I think a lot of people have talked about Nas Reed being that guy. Obviously, the Timberwolves have a lot of money tied up with Gobert and Anthony Edwards and a couple other guys. So he's definitely gonna be looking for that big check and an opportunity to take that next step as a player. But I think that they're gonna be very cautious about making any moves that would risk breaking up our team, because we really do have something going, and you don't want to rush. You don't want to rush it when you got a guy like Ron Holland, who's 19 years old, who's going to get better. He looks more comfortable shooting from the outside every game. Asar Thompson, he's super athletic. You can't teach what he brings physically. So you don't want to break up even like a Marcus Sasser who hasn't played a ton, but he has the potential to be a good scorer off the bench as well. So I think they're going to be very reluctant to break the team up. But so hopefully an Asar or a Ron Holland can develop into that role, because what they have chemistry wise, you can't, like, we see we're in the generation of the stacked teams that play good on 2K, but when the chemistry isn't right, it just doesn't matter if you have KD, Booker, and Bradley Beal. That sounds amazing and beautiful, but when it's all said and done, when you have a team, a cohesive unit that really knows how to play together, that normally trumps all the star power when it's all said and done. So,
considering they hired that coach who once coached the Suns and then booted him after 2 years,
yeah. the most, I mean,
hate to say it.
I mean, the
proof is in that pudding.
The job with the least amount of security is definitely an NBA coach. We saw the Grizzlies fire their coach yesterday out the blue for whatever reason, but
The Bucks, they fired their coach last year and got in Glenn.
yeah, Glenn Glenn Rivers.
So Pistons in a nutshell: good defense, get out transition, and they have good quality and quantity depth.
Yeah.
Sounds like another basketball team in the state that we're fairly familiar with right now on a run. I'll
Yeah.
tease that.
Yeah. Hey.
Switching gears, I know Coach doesn't probably want to talk about this. I mean, he has no need to talk about it. He's a Super Bowl champ fan over there. Shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. Congratulations on your Super Bowl win, man. You're a team that we strive to be like. That's 2 Super Bowls in the last 2 years.
Yep, with third appearance in there too.
Yeah, I mean, third appearance, but you got 2 wins. You've been there 3 times in 10 years. That's a very good feat.
And they've had to beat 2 of some of the best on the
Well,
other
that
side.
Kansas City, that was a close game. I think that turnover by Hurst, the fumble, that was the difference in the game, because the Eagles scored. They kept pace with them as far as scoring. They just needed to force another turnover on their end. But 3 out of 10 years, 3 Super Bowl appearances in the last 10 years. Troy Lions trying to get to that first. So you're a team that we strive to be like, honestly. And there's been a lot going on in the off season as far as the Detroit Lions. Not as far as roster moves, but as far as speculations and expectations. There's a lot of thoughts going through my head as a fan. Foster is more reserved and more optimistic than anything. Not saying he's delusional by no means, but
I'd be the first one to tell him if he was.
well, the thing is, I have these expectations, and Foster will bring me back to earth with some of the things. Like, for instance, I was disappointed by the lack of free agency moves by the Lions. Foster had to tell me, you don't go 15-2 and spend a bunch of money. That's just what it is. If you lose a few people, then of course, you address that. And that's what the Lions have done. They lost Carlton Davis. For me, in free agency, that was the big thing. Retain Carlton Davis or get a corner. And The Lions did that. But for me, that still wasn't enough. I see, and a lot of times I got caught up with watching the Bears were doing. They're 5-12. They had to do a lot. Watch what Minnesota's doing. They lost their starting quarterback. Their offensive line is iffy. They lost their starting safety. They had to do more. And they did. They spent money in free agency. We did not so much. The difference is, now that I look at it, they had to rebuild their offensive lines. Where Lions don't. We lost Zeitler, but there's a young man named Mahogany that's going to be good. Now, will he be Kevin Zeitler? Not right now. But he's good enough to be in that spot. And with a draft coming up, you can pick up an interior line. And it doesn't have to be your first pick. So, Foster, with all that's going on, how do you feel about your Detroit Lions heading into next season?
Well, what I'm seeing is that they're retaining a lot of the guys, a lot of the guys that played for us last year. So I'm seeing that there's probably not a whole lot of spots to be had for draft picks. So you got to think that they're going to try to maximize, maximize what they can get out of the draft in less individuals, but more of a quality versus quantity, because you just don't have. I mean, they just signed another offensive lineman back the other day, but I think that there's certainly a high priority for one major position, but I feel like you can't lose. They're in a position to where I don't think they have any major one individual need per se, which is a good place to be, but. I see them trading up and not. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how many picks that they have actually, but I see them trying to maximize what they can is on the quality side of things, as opposed to trading back and adding more assets. I don't think that there's a need for that. There's not even the money isn't really even there for all that. So I'm really hoping that they either get. One of the premier edge rushers, or that Jahai Campbell guy out of Alabama, who's able to, who he can rush off the edge, but he's more so a sideline to sideline type linebacker. But there's obviously some rumors out there and a lot of speculation, which there's always that in the midst of draft time, but. I think we're in a good. I think we're in a good place where we obviously win the draft, but we also win during the year too. So I think that we are in a good place to make some things happen in the next month or so.
There was a question that was asked, Foster, and I think it's very interesting going into the draft. Drafting at 28, if all things remain the same. You draft at 28. Is there a position that they draft for that would make you mad?
Mad? No. There's not one position that would make me mad. Of course, that always comes down to who's there, because your dream
it's kind
draft.
of unfair to have your heart set on a position at 28.
Right.
Because
now, if you were in the top 5 and you're like, oh, you go out and get a receiver when you need a quarterback, and I'm obviously not talking about the Lions, I'm talking about another team, but yeah, if you're drafted in the top 10 and you take a shot in the dark, then yeah, there's a reason to be mad. But yeah, at 28,
you're usually picking the best player available.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. If you're at 28, logic says you were very good last year.
Yeah.
You don't have too many needs. So, but we know there's a position and there's an area of need we need, and that's pass rush.
Absolutely.
Especially letting go Zadarius Smith, but re-signing Davenport. I'm sorry, I'm not going to let that go.
It's kind of crazy.
So for me, the answer to my own question it will be anybody that you pick that's not rushing the quarterback. I will be highly disappointed. However, that position is the draft is extremely rich at that position. So if you go somewhere else at 28, at 60, you better, it better be somebody.
Now if they re-sign Zadarius Smith in the,
You can be a little bit flexible at 28 if you get Zadarius Smith back.
Yeah.
The only reason I say at 28 you have to get somebody is because you let go Zadarius Smith. Picked up, you re-sign Marcus Davenport. It just shows me, it just tells me this is in your plan to address this. It has to be.
You would think so. Yeah.
There's a rumor swirling around, several publications. I don't know if you heard it, Foster, but they're saying Meek Robinson and Anzalone's on the trading block. I can't imagine why.
Right.
You have your second best cover corner on the team on the market. Next to DJ Reed. Who's better? I see the look on your face, Foster. Who's better?
I still think overall, I think Terrion Arnold as a whole.
I'm not going to.
Oh, you say cover corner, solely cover corner. Okay, I guess maybe. I don't know. Amik Robertson, I feel like Amik Robertson was quiet up until the Vikings game. Were people just ranting and raving about Amik Robertson prior to that?
As a Raider, yes.
As a Raider, he's a Raider fan, so he follows them.
No, I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, I'm saying you're more privy to it than the average person. I didn't know anything about him.
It was a shock that they let him go.
I mean,
from the Raiders Nation, he was your best cover corner on the team.
Was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who was better?
Oh, I don't follow the Raiders. I had no idea.
But it was a shock, and it was
the best of the Raiders is kind of.
But I think the stigma was he's 5'9".
Yeah.
We want bigger corners.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
I mean, that's what makes Terrion Arnold more appealing to him. Like.
Yeah, but Anzalone though, your best linebacker.
Yeah, that's weird to me. I can see the Meek Robertson just because of numbers game. You got Ennis Rakestraw last year who had a great training camp, had a great preseason. Only the fact that he had that that hamstring situation is probably the only thing that kept him back from playing a lot last year. And then you bring in Rock Ya-Sin and what's the other guy? Maddox. I mean, it's getting real crowded at that nickelback position.
It's very crowded, and it makes you wonder about the rumor about Robinson.
I think there could possibly be some smoke. I mean, I think a lot of fans would probably be. I think a lot of fans fell in love with them after that. The Vikings game. So I think emotionally, I think people would be tied to it, but there's certainly it makes more sense than the linebacker situation with Anzalone, because you saw when he break his arm or whatever. And
first defensive series of the game.
Yeah, and then when he came back, you could see the difference immediately off that. So like, why would you?
You talking about Anzalone? Right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, you talking about they both broke their arm.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, I'm talking about Anzalone.
Who has a team with two starters with broken arms? It just doesn't happen. But go ahead.
And throwing a broken jaw with that as well.
How many corners break their jaw? Go ahead.
Yeah. So then you saw a distinct difference between between the team having Anzalone and not having the Anzalone. So I can't see that. I mean, he's the captain. You brought back Derek Barnes, who's his best friend. I think that I think the dynamics of the linebacking core would be all messed up if you take him away. You definitely got to have some contingency plans, because you got something going with Jack Campbell. I think Jack Campbell was the one constant we had all year long. So I think that you mess up a good thing by trading away Anzalone. I can't imagine, because I feel like you trade him. Would you trade him for a draft pick? Do we need any more draft picks once again?
I think we got at least 8 draft picks.
Okay.
No, we don't need 8 draft picks.
Yeah, I think you consolidate that into a better first round draft pick, and then you go from there. Because I think you really don't have a ton of. I don't think you really have a ton of needs. Maybe some interior offensive line help. Obviously edge rusher, and then outside of that, you maybe a developmental linebacker are the only major needs. Now I've seen Malachi Starks, the Georgia safety. I've seen that projection a couple times. In theory, I'm not opposed to it in the sense that you can drop Brian Branch down to nickel, and then you got an excellent nickel, an excellent nickel back, and then two good safeties, assuming Malachi Starks is as good as he was in college. So I think we're in a versatile position to where we don't need anybody. The only position that you can say you need is edge rusher, and that's only because you chose to not bring back Zadarius Smith at this moment right now.
Interesting. So, what is your expectations going into this next season? Now, we had the toughest division. Maybe, I don't know. Toughest division in football, and I think I know Chicago has made some drastic improvements in the offseason on paper, at least. Their biggest Achilles heel was their offensive line. They went out and got offensive line. Another big Achilles heel was their coaching. They got our coach and some of our staff. Let me ask you this, Coach, because I don't want you to, be just left out of this. I mean, you're a champion, but we can use your expertise.
Right.
How realistic, if it's realistic at all, to just get an offensive coordinator and turn him into a successful head coach the first couple of years? Because I know a couple of Chicago Bears fans that's elated that Ben Johnson is their coach, and they think an instant turnaround. Mind you, they were 5-12 last year. How realistic is that?
They were fairly competitive down the stretch too. They didn't make things easy for the rest of the divisional guys that they had to finish off in order to secure some playoff seeding. So they made some improvement, but I mean, man, they went out and made an absolute overhaul. They moved, changed names, got a new address. I mean, everything but a new mascot, pretty much. I mean, they'll be better. How better? I think it'll just be dependent on the schemes that Ben Johnson wants to utilize on offense and what their D coordinator decides to do on defense. Because on paper, like you said, they made a lot of changes, a lot of improvements on paper. I think Minnesota's going to take a little bit of a step back too as a result of their changes and opting not to go with Sam Darnold for more than just the 1 year. And McCarthy, had to go through some rehab and recovery, so it wasn't like he was in game shape all his rookie year. So he's kind of been coming into rookie year 1B for Minnesota. So and some high expectations for them too. So I could kind of see a scenario where Minnesota and Chicago kind of trade places a little bit, but whether Chicago really makes that leap to make a 13, 12 plus win team might be a little of a stretch to get to, but I think they've got the personnel and pre-draft, mind you. They've got some players that they've signed to make them, I think on paper, at least probably a 500 team, I think is fair to say, but anything beyond that will be dependent on what they do in the draft and what we start to see on film as they start that new era with Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I just, to go 5-12 and be just as good as an Eagles team, your Redskins team, I I even want to go like
That is a big leap, but
Minnesota, Detroit. We talking about all these teams in the NFC. That's a huge leap in expectation. And we're going to go off the road a little bit. Do the improvements by the Redskins on paper have you, as an Eagles fan, are you a little bit concerned? Dallas has made some minor moves.
better than nothing last year.
And you know, there's Dallas is your biggest rivalry within the division, of course. The Giants have made some moves. We got 2 new quarterbacks.
Just now the NFC version of the Steelers from last year.
So, how do you feel going into what this offseason is taking place? I know Philly, you win the Super Bowl, you don't have to make a bunch of moves. Like, you know, so I think you guys were you have a young very good defensive backfield. That is insane what you have in that defensive backfield. A couple people that just started last year. So that's
Yeah.
a young group with
Mitchell.
Cooper,
Gene.
Cooper, Gene, and Mitchell.
Yep.
Foster did a feature profile. Both of those you can find on Bleachers and Speakers YouTube, and all the aggregators for Bleachers and Speakers, FFSN. But how do you feel going into this next season, having to compete with the Redskins, and they're trying to get Zadarius Smith as well?
I mean, yeah, like you said, it's a little bit different when you get to the top. Now, and let's be real here. Everyone's been gunning for a team like Detroit and Philly the last 2 years due to their sustained success over the last few years. So you already have a target on your back to begin with. But once you come off a Super Bowl win or trip, even you're going to get your best from even the worst teams the following year. So, and to that effect too, there's, like you said, there's not too much more better that you can be. It's just that all the other teams that didn't get there and didn't win it have a greater margin to improve in the offseason. So it's about everyone else catching up and gaining a little bit more of an edge where you already had one and perfecting that craft, if you will. So Philly had been, largely the last few years, the tush push, the offensive line, run game has been obviously solid. And, their offense was completely different from the year before, or even the last time they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, where Hurts was slinging the ball around all over the place in an MVP conversation and among the finalists. And then he kind of took a back seat last year. It was more of a game manager, used his legs. People started to question whether he was a fluke quarterback. And I thought that was kind of wild considering, what he did at Alabama. Sure, he got pulled in the one championship game. They still won, but he still had success at Oklahoma. It's not like he struggled to throw the ball really anywhere in his career. It's just the percentage they wanted, run versus pass. And you look what transpired with Saquon Barkley.
Right.
There was a need to throw 40 times a game.
Right.
Jalen's got that in his back pocket. He can do it. He's shown it with a team on paper that was probably a little bit less attractive than the team he had this year. So, in that aspect, Washington, I definitely think they got better. They're going to be a problem over the next 3 to 4 years, with as long as they continue their development. Giants and the Cowboys continue to do Giants and Cowboy things, so I'm not too worried about them. The Giants should get better. Cowboys, I'm not worried. Dallas is in their own delusional jury world, jury land. May have its own constitution at this point for all we care. They continue to beat their head against their own wall, but yeah, I mean, it's right now. It's going to be the NFC North, Philly, Washington, and then I really don't know what's going to happen with San Francisco. I don't know what they're going to look like. The wild rumors of them with Bosa being being not re-signed potentially, the injuries they had, and continued question at quarterback. You just don't know what they're going to look like next year, and that aspect, the rest of the NFC.
Yeah, I get it. So, fellas, we are going to wrap this up. Next time when we do this, I'm going to make sure that the video is correct. We had some issues streaming That's a bug I gotta work out. And there might be an issue with the video. Some of it might have gotten missed. However, we do have all of the audio. So we'll get our downloads, which is more important. But I want to do this at least once a month. Next time I'll have an engineer in here with us, and we'll get everything corrected. We'll make sure everything is dry. This is me hooking this up by myself. I never use this new piece of equipment that I have. So it's on me. But this is our podcast recording studio. We've done this before, and it's open for whenever we need it. So if you guys
Appreciate
want
that.
to do Corner to Copa anytime you want here, just let me know. I'll meet you here. So,
All right.
and you know, I think this is dope with you guys together. I mean, a podcast in one room, it's dope. So before we get out of here, though, Coach, you can tell the people what you're doing, your socials, whatever you want to plug. Let the people know.
Yeah, I mean, we Foster and I do. Foster and I do the Corner to Copa Tigers, year 2 now, in full swing here. He does a great job covering written stuff for the Tigers, minor league as well, big time farm system guy. Does a lot of writing for FSN, all the major sports here. Kind of took me under his wing last year to get on board the writing side and doing this. So, I kind of help with the Twitter X page with Corner to Copa, and Foster runs the IG side of it, and along with the other Meta-owned platform and Facebook. So he does a phenomenal job in that aspect. So I gotta give big props to him. For myself personally, right now, just writing a lot of Michigan State basketball here. They're in the thick of it here, Big Ten, trying to push out some stuff for some Michigan State hockey in Western Michigan, hockey as well. More scope on other teams to come this fall for myself personally, but I am on the FFSN bandwagon for writing in that regard. So, and I think we're hopefully in the talks to next season, if they don't make the playoffs, expand our portfolio to include the Detroit Red Wings as well. So more and exciting features and news on that upcoming.
We need to get a Red Wings show going. We need candidates for that. Foster does enough. He is off limits. I don't know. I know Coach is busy as well. If we can get a Red Wings representative, so we can cover all of Detroit sports. Also looking for, I like to expand it and get Michigan State and Michigan coverage as well. That would be dope. I would volunteer for the Michigan stuff. I don't know, because Foster has more jobs than I do. So, I'm not going to volunteer him for the Michigan State stuff, and I know you're busy, Coach. I know you do reffing and umpiring and all that good stuff.
That's in the spring. I'm down for I could do a wings thing, yeah. That works out well. I don't really do much in the fall. That's my time off.
Okay.
So,
okay.
yeah.
We just need to find you a co-host. That's it.
Yeah.
So we can get that under wraps. Fellas, this has been dope. We're going to do this at least once a month. And I thank you both. You can subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube. You can catch all of us there. You can catch us on all the audio, anywhere you can hear a podcast. You can catch all of our shows. That's Corner to Copa, FFSN. That's Bleachers to Speakers, FFSN. And that's Post Game Podcast, FFSN. If you go to any of those platforms, Spotify, YouTube Music, Pandora, anywhere you can listen to a podcast, put those names in your search. Make sure you're following us. Make sure that you hit the notification bell so when we drop content, you'll get an alert and download the episodes. Fellas, we are done. Subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers on YouTube.
get your lick back. If a nigga gon' do something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop letting shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back. Get your lick back. If a nigga gon' do something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop letting this shit slide and get your lick back. And get your lick back.
I feel like I'm JX.
J-Way,
I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless.
I'm gone.
Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that necklace.
Give me that.
To the trench. See you leave, be the bench.